Okay, perfect. So first, as we always do, we want to thank the community for coming out and giving us a chance to speak directly to you. And the first thing we're going to do is do some introductions. So for any of you who do not know Brian or Chris, we're going to let them give a little background about themselves and a little bit of background about BitMobile itself. So Brian, do you want to kick this off?
Sure. We can have Chris go first if that's easier. That works.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm flexible, guys. You know me. Thanks, everyone, again for joining. Chris Benedict. I'm the Chief Operating Officer at BitMobile. We are focused on bringing high-quality, affordable devices and education to developing markets, particularly Africa. We are very much focused on about 10 or 15 different markets there to begin with. But our big markets that we will be focusing on include South Africa, Nigeria, Zambia, Kenya, and we will then be moving into the Philippines while we continue, into Southeast Asia and Philippines as we continue our expansion across Africa. But who we are in general is we're a technology company. We have deep grounding in developing new technologies and bringing them to market and making them friendly, usable, and accessible to people on their devices. So our goal has always been to make complicated technologies very usable, very friendly, so that people don't need to know anything specific to use them. And we'll talk a little bit about that today when we talk about blockchain. So we want to protect people's information, give them complete access to it, allow them to have what we call digital sovereignty, meaning they own their data, they own their identity. We just help them secure it and use it as needed, but they own that and we will never sell it or use it. So I'll stop there and pass the microphone to Brian.
Okay. All right. So what I would like to do is, as you guys know, we have our tradition as we start off these calls here. I'd like to reach out to our incredible community, and it's really a pleasure, honestly, to work with such amazing people. And you think about how busy everybody's schedule is, just in general, right? And we have such an amazing group that we work with, and I would just like to say thanks to them. You guys do such a fantastic job, and we have you'll meet them in the channels. For those of you who are spending time on Telegram or Discord or perusing the X messages that fly back and forth, you'll see Nick on there. You're going to see Crazy Susie, Dagonaut. Hopefully Dagonaut can attend today. Kismet, Rob, you'll see Rob in there. Viv, Dagon's Lair. Some of them are quite busy, so you may not see them for a while at a time. And others are there quite actively doing things every day. But these are some incredible people, and we really appreciate all the focus that they put into this. And one of the things, Tyler, that I would like to mention at the outset here is for those of you that are new to this, when we have these events, the links get sent out in a number of different ways. They get sent out through the affiliate channel. So we have people that are selling phones and their communities will get the links to this event. It'll go to many different countries that are sleeping right now. So Southeast Asia, it's quite late in the evening right now in Southeast Asia. So they would likely not be awake at this hour being able to attend. But when they wake up tomorrow, then they'll see the link. It'll be in, an X feed or maybe an email or on WhatsApp or something like this. They'll be able to click it. And while they're driving to work or on the train, they could be the MTR in Hong Kong, some kind of transportation. They'll be able to listen to this. And we really appreciate that extended audience and the fact that this is a very global operation. So we're working with people in each country and every territory. And as you guys will know from listening to these AMAs and reading about us, a lot of this focuses on the emerging markets. So almost entirely what we're all about is helping the average person, helping them get a better life, helping to provide ways for them to increase their productivity, to become wealthier, to obtain a higher education. And this can affect everybody from the life of a young child to somebody who's achieved matriculation in South Africa, to an adult who's going through a midlife crisis and needs to get a better salary or change their lifestyle. The Phēnix X platform is designed to do all of this. It's designed to help this process along and provide a very handy tool for people to engage with. And this makes us very happy to see this really affect so many people's lives. And I think, Tyler, will probably have an AMA at some point, maybe before the end of the year, maybe at the start of next year, where we actually talk to people who've gone through like the HVACR EDU learning process. So we've gone through a whole outreach and in very different countries all around Africa. There are people who are now taking classes through HVACR EDU. So in working with DC, Chris Compton, the CEO of HVACR EDU, and his team, we've been able to hand out some very awesome scholarships at no cost. And by the way, the scholarship recipients, they receive a Phēnix X. So they actually get a free phone. They get a couple of years of education, which is and can be very expensive depending on how long you're in the classes and which ones you take. And these programs are quite wonderful. But you get through the programs, and all of a sudden you're educated in quite a well-paying job, and that is the heating, ventilation, air conditioning, and refrigeration industry. And these pay quite well. And the education that you attain when you go through the classes, you can use that in any country. You can take that anywhere around the world and use that education. So it's a great way. And hopefully we'll have some of these folks who can come in and talk about their experience and what it means for them to gain this education. So this is what we're all about. We're excited to be here, Tyler, and take this range of questions. So I'll turn it back over to you and look forward to the next one.
Yeah, I think that would be great to hear some feedback from people who have gone through the course. I have a background in NFTs and metaverses and stuff like that, and I thought it was very, very cool what we were doing, being able to create this digital world. And I'm curious to see how people who are going through it for maybe dealing with something like that for the first time, how it affected them. So that'd be great. Looking forward to that. But all right, we're gonna get right into some questions. So the first one is, I know that we operate across multiple African markets and distribute devices like the Phēnix X. Now, how does BitMobile view the role of hardware in enabling blockchain adoption and Web3 access for everyday users? So how does the hardware that we're selling, the watch, the tablet, the Phēnix X, how does that increase access?
I'll jump in on that first, Tyler. Well, hardware really is the gateway to Web3, blockchain, whatever new technologies are, DeFi. You mentioned NFTs. Without secure and affordable hardware devices, really the blockchain and DeFi stay theoretical, and people don't have access to them if they don't have a secure device and a secure platform to get on board. When we designed the Phēnix X, the XT tablet, and the smartwatch, the intent was to create an ecosystem where people who use them can access their digital identities, their information, payments, and decentralized apps, whatever they may be, right away. And they don't really have anything to learn. With the technology baked in to these devices, it really helps them bridge the gap, right? And get onboarded into Web3 without knowing that they're doing that, without having to have any special knowledge, information, or training. in order to access these new types of technologies or these new services. So really, hardware's role is in bringing these solutions to Africa is that the solutions themselves, the technology is embedded in the device at the device level. And it's not something that's optional. It's not an optional download or something that they have to go seek out and learn about in order to implement and use those technologies. So hardware, while not the only part of the solution, is certainly a really important part in getting these types of this type of education, this type of access to the common person, to every man. Thanks,
Yeah, I
Tyler,
think
for
that
that question.
no problem. I think that that's great. I think I've been on a handful of these AMAs, and I've always kind of talked about how onboarding is one of the most difficult processes for bringing people into Web3. So the Phēnix X and the tablet and these things coming preloaded without having people need to go search to find reliable and secure applications and DApps. I think that that's a very, that makes that whole process easier. And like you said, so when they go into that, it becomes a onboarding without being forced because it's already there. They don't need to go do anything. I think that ease really improves the amount of people who will get involved.
Exactly right.
Now, how do you ensure that blockchain-enabled features on these devices, including secure services like Phēnix Lock, how do they remain simple, safe, and accessible for somebody who has never been in Web3? This is kind of what we were just talking about, but how do these kind of features make people new to it and new to digital finance? How does that improve their process with a simple and secure solution?
Brian, you want to jump in on that, or you want me to?
Yeah, I could take that one. So this is an interesting question. I think, Tyler, there's probably a lot of ways to talk about this. I think for the audience, especially for those that are new to the space or learning about it, I would caution everybody in the sound of my voice. I would caution you to really think deeply about how artificial intelligence is shaping the way that we interact with information today. I'd really caution you to really just stop and think about this. With the Phēnix X platform, the beauty of having innovation at its core, when you think about the product family, right now you have a phone, you have a tablet, and you have a watch, and there's a lot more coming. There's a lot more. It's a whole product pipeline. And it's an exciting pipeline, and it's an amazing pipeline. And you think about all the technology behind this. AI is a very integral part. It's instrumental in all the things that are happening in these products. And the blockchain is like a foundational element, right? AI, these are foundational elements. So you have to ask yourself, well, how much do you know about the blockchain? How much do you know about artificial intelligence? And that's not just like signing up for Chat GPT. How is it going to impact your job? All of you guys are doing various things out there. How's it going to impact the work that you're doing? How does it make you more productive? How does it make you more secure and find the right information? And how do you structure your life around all these changes? So the Phēnix X is designed to help you do this. The educational side of it, we're putting a lot of thought, a lot of innovation into understanding how to get blockchain concepts in front of people that have never heard of the blockchain. And how does that help somebody practically? How does it help somebody in Nigeria and South Africa, Kenya, Tanzania? Well, if information that's critical to you is stored on the blockchain, much like information that would be important for an employer to give you a raise, information that would be important for an employer to hire you for a job, to consider you over another candidate. For somebody standing at the border that will make a decision to let you enter a country. If we think about the blockchain and how it's enabling all these things to happen at the speed of light, you'll now be able to learn faster, more efficiently. You'll now have the right information. You'll be directed to do the correct learning, that is, classes that will help you in your field to get paid the best. You need to be paid, all of us, you need to be paid the most money that you're worth, right? You're working on a job, you want to get paid good money. Well, how do you do that? You're going to get there with education, you're going to get there with experience. And what the Phēnix X provides is a pathway to get there. And teaching people about the blockchain and about artificial intelligence, about decentralized finance and Web3, these technology concepts translate into everyday life. Getting up in the morning, catching a ride to work, getting to your office, being productive in what you're doing, having an opportunity to learn the next skill set to make you better at what you do, and to be able to grow in all aspects of your life. The Phēnix X provides this pathway. So by having education built into it, it's not an afterthought, it's a pre-thought. It's something that comes with the foundation of the product. And opening this up to every person, every single person in each country and territory. And if you think about that, all of a sudden, you're increasing productivity, you're increasing the wages of the average person. You're opening up opportunity for each and every person. And how does this help them? It gives them more money to save. It gives them more money to spend. It helps the tax base of their city, of their country. It creates a better economy. It creates a safer economy. And ultimately, this is what moves countries into the first world status. And so we're very excited, Tyler, about making this available and finding those ways through the platform to serve it up. And one of the ways we've realized that we can do this is with virtual reality education. So VR education, that is the ability to come in on the device. Just as a reminder for those listening, the Phēnix X platform has 2 accelerometer chips embedded in the device. Not one. Most phones come with just one. This has 2 different accelerometer chips embedded in the device, and they're there for a reason. You could say, well, why? Why do you need 2? Well, because it's all about education. It's all about education. We realize that in order to educate people, if you can do it with your hands, if you can learn with your hands, you're going to learn faster and you're going to retain the information longer. So when you go into the Phēnix X, you can from the portal, you can download HVAC-R modules and start learning about heating, ventilation, air conditioning, refrigeration. You can start doing that with your hands. You can learn about solar with your hands. You can learn about Web3 using your hands and the Phēnix X. So these are important things, Tyler. And if we can help education make sense and make it easier, more palatable for the average person, this reaches the goals I'm talking about. This helps people in every country and territory to be more productive, to make more money, to help their families, their communities, and ultimately their country. And this is a big deal. This is a huge deal. So we look forward to that, Tyler, to getting this in the hands of every person. And for those out there, like in the first question you asked, and we talked about these scholarship recipients. That's a great group of people to talk to, and I'd like to get those in one of these AMAs and have them talk about their experience, because that's a life you want to track, right? Every one of the people that come in and use the device and get to that next level, we're going to have so many of these stories, and it's going to be so wonderful to have them come and talk before this audience and across all these countries. What an amazing thing. And thank you, Tyler, for that question.
No problem. I think that was great. And I did mention that we discussed bringing accessibility along with this education to non-technical users, so people who maybe aren't familiar with it, they haven't engaged with it before. And I think one of the best examples that we have of that is Phēnix Lock, where Phēnix Lock is a cloud-based storage that kind of interacts with the blockchain, and it acts as a very familiar familiar face to a lot of people who have used iCloud, who have used Dropbox and things like that. Do you want to speak more about Phēnix Lock and how that security storage is an easy way to bring people into kind of a blockchain world without changing their daily activities?
This is such a great question. Chris, you want to go first, and then I'll dive in on. This is a really good question.
Sure. What Phēnix Lock is, if you've not heard us talk about it before, Phēnix Lock is basically a decentralized storage facility, encrypted storage facility, and it differs from traditional storage in that the data that is in there, whether it's important documents to the user, whether it's photographs, educational certificates, seed phrases, passwords, whatever the case may be, they can not only is that information encrypted, it is then broken into pieces and stored across several different databases. So what that means is it's extra security for the information that you store in there. If any one particular database, unlikely as it is, but if any one of them was compromised, there's no usable data there. Think about taking a plate or a china cup and smashing it and storing the pieces in different places. If you find one piece, it's still not a usable cup. There's nothing you can do with it. So conceptually, it's even more secure than the types of solutions people are using today. But what makes it so accessible is you can access it through the online portal on the Phēnix X, which includes our EDU portal, the education piece. It includes the rewards portal, but you can access Phēnix Lock through there. And what makes it's just so easy. You authenticate with your biometrics on the device, so that adds that extra layer of security as well. That getting in, that you are the only person, or the owner of that account is the only person who can access that information through their biometric identity. And then the information is pulled down from this decentralized secure facilities. So it's easy to use. The people don't need to have any technical knowledge, any specific blockchain-based knowledge or Web3 type knowledge. It's just accessible to them. It's built for them to be easy to use. Now, if we ask why is it better? Number one, it's easy to use. Number two, it's super secure. But number three, we've added something in that is unique into Phēnix Lock. And what people can do with that is they can elect to have, for financial planning reasons, look at it like that, or security reasons with your information. People can elect someone like Tyler, I can elect you to receive information in the event something happens to me. So it's driven by a date that I set in the Phēnix Lock program, and says if I don't reset this date by January 31st, Tyler has access to my information. So that's super important for people who want to store their information securely, not leave a paper trail behind them that can be lost, stolen, burned in a fire, damaged in a bad weather event. You can keep all this affordably secure in a decentralized facility. So it's not only secure, it is easy to access, and we call it an endowment. So I would endow Tyler with access in the event of something happening to me. And Tyler would be able to get in there and say, okay, here's his seed phrases, here's his bank account, log on information, whatever I store in there, and he can then get access to it. So from a financial planning perspective, it can be a spouse, a friend, a relative, an attorney, whoever that may be. That person would then have access in the event of something happens negatively. So it's an easy facility to use, no special training or knowledge of Web3 to access it.
Yeah, and Tyler, I would just add into all of that for the listeners here and the ones that come in later, that for those of you that have ever lost a loved one, if you've ever had to, say goodbye to a family member, and then you have to deal with, their estate. You've had to deal with things that were left behind. Imagine all the paperwork for those for those of you that have done this or have heard about your other family members who've done this. Um, you get somebody assigned to the estate. They have to figure out what's owned. What money do they have? What money do they owe? And there's a lot of work that goes into digging through all of that. And the beauty of Phēnix Lock is it's a super professional way, especially in the world we live in now with the blockchain, right? Decentralized finance, the blockchain, and artificial intelligence, and all the different sort of electronic wallets and things that people have these days. It's not 100 years ago where we have paper money and a little bar of gold in our pocket. It's different, right? Today you've got an account with Bitcoin in it. It's got some Ethereum. You have a bank account someplace. You're sending money. You're paying bills online. You're not writing a check and sending it in the mail. Some of us still do that on certain accounts, but most things have gone to the way of an electronic format. And so when somebody departs, they pass away, and you've got to deal with it. You want to know where that information is. You want to have access to it, especially logging in, especially like the 12 keywords to a wallet that's got a lot of Bitcoin. Don't you guys want to know what those 12 keywords are? And so all of this becomes very critical. These kind of things you hear us talking about, it's like, oh, that's interesting. Well, until you face it and you've got to deal with it, then you're going to know how crazy all this is. So what we've done is we've designed a way to make it easy for you to deal with that and for your loved ones. And so, God forbid anything ever happened to any of you and you had to deal with it yourself, and somebody had to take your estate and do something, you want to make sure that what you have built up gets handed to the right person or people or attorney or whatever. And this system called Phēnix Lock, this product called Phēnix Lock, is designed to do exactly that. It'll take the most beautiful pictures when you were a kid and store those, because you never want to lose those, right? And it'll take the most critical information that is so vital to your family, to your legacy, and it'll take all that and keep it safe. It'll keep it safe, and it'll make it available. It'll never be lost. It'll make it available to the next generation. So this is something we want to highlight. We're going to put some really high quality marketing around this going into the end of the year, just to remind people this is actually a great holiday present. This is something you could gift. You could gift this to a family member. You could gift it to a friend. It doesn't cost a lot of money. It's designed to be very cost effective for every person. Because if it costs too much money, nobody can afford it. So we keep the price low. We keep the technology perfectly secure, the best you're ever going to find, and put these products out here so that average people can use this incredible technology. So Tyler, we'll do a great job on that. We'll talk about this in each and every AMA. If you guys don't mind, that's okay. We're going to bring this up in every AMA and mention it, especially through the end of the year, because we believe that this is going to make a great Christmas or holiday present that you can hand off to somebody that you really care about. So if that's okay with you guys, we'll bring it up in all of our upcoming AMAs. Thank you, Tyler.
No problem. I think you made a great point there with how we've moved into a digital world and having something that can hold all this, important information in a location that releases to a specific person. I think it's a very, very valid point. So we are going to move on to something that's very exciting that is semi new. We've talked about it a little bit in past ones, but I want to talk a little bit about how people can get the Phēnix X. Now, can you talk a little bit about BitMobile's pay over time, our lay-by option, and even the BioFi utility token, the way that you can purchase a Phēnix X using a little bit of BioFi, and how that might increase, people being able to get these devices in areas that have historically been excluded.
Yeah, I'll hop in on this one first. So, for those of you that are close to the conversation around the blockchain and the altcoin market, and when I say altcoin, I mean not Bitcoin, right? Not Ethereum, not Ripple. These are kind of your mainline cryptocurrencies, and the purists in the industry, the crypto bros, would say, "Oh, well, that's just Bitcoin." In reality, the top five, those are your primary tokens that are trading on the market, and everything else is kind of considered an altcoin. So the altcoin market, BioFi is an altcoin. It's a low market cap altcoin, which will be a big market cap coin over time. And for those that have purchased it and are holding it and are using it for its utility, will be very, very happy they did this. Very happy, because its future is incredible. Now, Tyler, you make an interesting point. So we realize that the value of the token is to be able to use it in a utility way. So in other words, you don't just keep it, print it on a piece of paper and put it into a frame and hang it on your wall. This is something that you can actually do something with. It's not a meme coin. It's not a game that you play. It's a real deal. It actually represents the company. This company called Finovant, and or as you guys know, BitMobile in South Africa and Nigeria and all these other countries. That's the front-facing name of the company globally. It's called BitMobile, and so the token itself, you can actually use the BioFi token to buy a Phēnix X phone. And as the tablet and the watch are entering the market, they have to go through an import process. You guys saw the press release. We talked about this yesterday. So the phone is already there in several markets and finding its way in the other markets rapidly. And then that's followed by the tablet and the watch. As these become available, you'll be able to use the BioFi token to purchase. We've also set up a very incredible arrangement with Vengi, who is the executive director, the founder of the Big Five token. So the Big Five token is a great token. It's also an altcoin. You can use that as well to buy the phone. So both of them, you can buy up to 10% of the device with the altcoin, and the rest of it you can use, your Bitcoin, your Ethereum, or in the case of South Africa, the rand, the local currency. In Zambia, that's a kwacha. So these are just ways that you can get it quickly, using the local currency or one of these major tokens that are trading on the cryptocurrency markets. And then for those that get the phone, the phone can be shipped. We have some locations where they can be picked up, and it's super exciting. But that's part of the utility, Tyler. And there's many other ways you can use the token as a utility token. If you just hold it, you have access to the BioFi ecosystem, which is incredible. And then maybe in another AMA, Tyler, we can get into the whole thing with the Doges, the actual NFTs. And there's a whole thread of conversation around the ethos metaverse. So there's the whole metaverse and NFT process that we built up around the token initially to help get it in the market and for people to use it and have the utility. And we've since expanded that. to now be able to buy the phone and in this platform. So it's quite amazing how far the BioFi token has come. And, don't worry about the price. We never talk about the price. It's just something that goes up and down. It's like anything. It's like buying IBM stock or Microsoft. For years, Microsoft's stock was trading in a range for years and years and years. And then it finally broke out. So we don't talk about the price. It's something that we don't obsess on this stuff at all. We focus on getting products to market and delivering the best in class products to every person in each country and territory. That's the focus. And getting the technology in the hands of the people who need it. So Tyler, we're very excited about the utility tokens. And I would like to segue and just mention the company BitPay Tech is designed to support the BioFi token. It's also designed to help the average person that works hard and toils every day to get one of these incredible devices. Because not everybody has hundreds of dollars sitting in their pocket. They just don't have it. And it's understandable. Got to buy food, you got to pay rent, transportation costs, medical, all these things sort of stack up, and you pay as you go. And then you set money aside and buy things. And the average person in all of these countries may not have 200 US dollars sitting in their pocket. So we actually came up with a way for them to engage in the platform and get a phone immediately. You mentioned lay-by, Tyler. That just means that you plunk some money down over a long period of time. Maybe it's 2 months, maybe it's 6 months, and you build up enough cash reserve to just buy the phone in its total price. And that's called lay-by. The other thing that we do, which is much better than that, is to be able to get the phone the same day. So you want the phone in the morning and you get the phone in the morning. And it's so wonderful because in that approach, you actually provide some information. You say, hey, I work at this job, I live at this address, here's my identification. And you check a few boxes, you provide the correct information, and then you are given the green light to get a phone with as little as like 800 Rand as your first payment. And in that approach, what we call BitPay Tech, it's a payments company. In that approach, you don't pay any interest, you don't pay any fees, there's no hidden charges. It's just the cost of the phone. So, Tyler, that person who's not sitting on a pile of cash can get the phone immediately with very little money to pay as their first payment. And then over time, they finish off paying the retail price. There's no charges, no fees, and they'll have the Phēnix X the whole time, taking advantage of all the rewards, the education, and all the blockchain, AI, everything that comes with it. All of that you get immediately. You don't have to wait. You can have it immediately. And that happens through BitPay Tech. So we're super excited about that company and what it offers. There'll be lots of AMA conversation around this throughout the month, especially during the holiday season and going into January. So we'll talk about that a lot in all the AMAs. And then Chris, if you want to add anything to that.
Yeah, what I'll add is when I think about pay over time or lay-by, just a little bit of history on that. But I think of it as helping people remove one of the biggest barriers, and that's really access to or affordability of a quality device. In many developing markets, people feel locked into substandard devices that don't give them the capability that the Phēnix does. It's a full-on smartphone that's got all the features, all the bells and whistles you could imagine, plus the enhancements that we've baked into the operating system around security and blockchain. So it's a really powerful device that now people can get access to that they might not have been able to get in the past. And we learned this in real time. And those of you who have spent time on our AMAs or gotten our newsletters have heard us talk about this, so I'll do it very briefly. But earlier in the year, we did a couple of programs with Pick n Pay in South Africa. Pick n Pay is one of the largest retailers. It's like top 2, top 3 retailers in South Africa. And we did several in-store sale programs with them in Johannesburg and in Cape Town areas. And what we found were 2 things. Number one, the Phēnix was in demand. People loved the device. They loved its capabilities. They loved the Rise platform. They loved everything about it. The second thing we learned was the existing pay over time or buy now, pay later is probably a better way to describe them. Services in the market were not meeting the needs of the market. And people were unable to get through the buy now, pay later process. And they typically have exorbitant fees and interest rates to take advantage of those services. To Brian's point earlier, we have built this BitPay tech to address that concern, whether it's through pay over time or lay-by. Lay-by gives people a chance to pay over time and accumulate the device, over time, pay enough to get the device in their hands, because one of the great things that people are taking advantage now of is the gig economy, and they can do short-term projects here and there. But what that means is they have unpredictable income. And when they go to traditional sources for purchasing power or lending or whatever that looks like, they often don't qualify, or they invariably don't qualify because of their unpredictable income. And if they do have issues in their income stream and they miss a payment or they're late on a payment, whatever that looks like, they end up paying dearly for that oversight or for that issue. With BitPay Tech, we remove all of those issues. We allow them to either pay over time or do lay-by, which is another form of pay over time before they actually take possession of the device. And they know exactly what they're going to pay for that device. So we learned real time that people need this capability and that there are plenty of people in the market, but they're not meeting the needs of the majority of the people. And BitPay Tech is designed to do that, meet the needs of the people who otherwise are challenged or excluded from taking advantage of technology.
That's fantastic. I think that is one of the more exciting things that well, at least I'm excited about, because like you said, it gives a lot easier access to people to be able to pick these phones up the day they go through the process. They can fill it out, go get the phone, start earning rewards, start learning, start getting involved in Web3. And the easier that process is, it's just going to be beneficial for everybody.
Absolutely.
Now, I've got one more question before we take some from the audience. What partnerships is BitMobile interested in? Whether it's universities, other fintech companies, are we currently pursuing anything, or is there a specific avenue or sector that we're looking to get involved in a little bit more across Africa?
I'll start on that one. What I'll talk about is categories and all the above of what you just said, Tyler. So what are we interested in as far as partnerships and driving adoption of the Phēnix XT and the smartwatch and all the technologies and benefits that come with it? A couple of different things. Obviously, we're interested in different fintechs, other people who play in the space and have audiences who understand DeFi technologies, blockchain, and so forth, because they have a ready-made audience who understands the benefit of the technology we bring to market. But that's not exclusive, right? We're interested in partnering with educational institutions, universities, whatever that may look like locally or on a national scale, or even a continental scale for Africa. We're having some conversations now that would be really big across Africa. But the idea is to get involved with people with a mobile first type of blockchain curriculum, people who have that, or we can help them develop those type of curriculums or those type of educational efforts. Keep in mind the Rise platform, the E stands for education, and the educational portal, the EDU portal online, has just a plethora of information, some free and some for paid, that people can use to educate themselves and get a better job. So if we can partner, we are certainly targeting universities and educational institutions like HVAC here in the States, HVAC EDU, to help deliver that content to their audiences and expand their audience to people who haven't seen them yet. And certainly we'd be interested in aligning with, government agencies, NGOs, whatever that could look like. They will see the benefit. They typically have a big reach, but they will see the benefit and are seeing the benefit of our technologies, bringing secure identity and financial tools to people who perhaps don't have access to anything today in low income or rural areas. Governments and regulators, aligning with whatever their national or regional digitization or blockchain type goals are. We have the technologies to help them deliver on what their objectives are for the next 5, 10, 15 years. So when you ask what type of partnerships we're looking at, the obvious ones come to other fintechs. Obviously, we're setting up distribution across different countries in Africa, but fintechs, NGOs, universities, educational institutions, and partners. In South Africa, we have some really good partners that we talk about often, and one that comes to mind is Twitch, who's changing the e-hailing space. They are using the Phēnix X as their device for their drivers. They are an Uber competitor, so meaning that they are offering a better service to drivers, to gig workers, to drivers in South Africa. So we're interested in exploring all host of different types of partnerships that touch the end user. So we're all over the place, and we talk to everyone. We love having a diverse base because that's where we get to the most people.
I think that's perfect. Yeah, the more companies we can reach out to, and like you said, the diversity in what we're reaching out to, I think it's just going to improve not only our partnerships but our visibility and being able to just reach a broader audience, which is always an improvement.
Yeah, because it's not just about the hardware; it's about everything that the hardware and the technology together and the programming bring to the people who own the device.
Exactly. All right, we are approaching the end of the AMA, and this is where we would usually take some audience questions. So if anybody has any questions or would like to come up and speak, you can feel free to request it, and I'll bring you up here. We can talk for a little bit.
And Tyler, while we're waiting for that, I would just like to call out the affiliates as a great channel. I know we're going to have an AMA. As I understand it, I heard from the team, we're going to have an AMA to go through the affiliates. What is an affiliate? How does an affiliate interact? What do they do? How do they find partnerships? And the partnership conversation actually is a great segue for the affiliates, because while they're out there selling phones, there's nothing wrong with getting a partnership and lining it up. We have a very quick, efficient process to bring people on board and partner with them. And as affiliates are finding people out there, I would encourage this because partnerships bring phone sales. They bring the sales, they bring communities, great people. They're energetic, they're enthusiastic. They want to get the phone, they want to share it with their neighbors, their colleagues, their friends. And great partnerships open up incredible opportunity for everyone, for the partner themselves, for the affiliate, for BitMobile. So it's a great way to build. It's a great way to grow the base of users, customers, and get this phone in the hands of everybody who needs it. So we really encourage the affiliates to spend time and find partners to bring in. We really encourage this.
Yes, and I'm looking forward to that affiliate AMA as well. I handled a little bit of the affiliate stuff when we got it started, so I was consistently reaching out and talking to different people. So I'm curious to hear some people's stories of how they've been able to go out and talk about the Phēnix X. Now, Nick, I saw that you had requested to speak earlier in the space, and I just approved you, but it didn't seem to bring you up. Do you still want to come on up and speak? All right, I see the request come through. We have a request from Gator, so we're going to bring Gator up.
Great.
All right, I just approved you to come on up. Let's hope that this is going to bring you up as it should.
Yep, I think it worked if you're talking to me.
Yep, there we go.
Thanks for having me, guys. Sorry I jumped in late. Was there any mention of phone sales? Just a simple question on the detail of how many phones you guys have sold.
Yeah, it's a great question. Phone sales are growing rapidly across the entire African continent. So yesterday we spent time talking about all of the new countries that have been added. We started off with South Africa and Zambia, which kind of engulfs Lesotho, being a part of South Africa, enveloped in South Africa. So we really kind of focused on those two markets. And then we've added Nigeria and a whole host of other countries. So we're quickly and rapidly moving there. Yesterday, Gator, we talked about affiliates and we talked about franchise operators. And if we just look at those two, we had, Samuel, for example, talked yesterday from the affiliate perspective. So we have tens of thousands of phones right now being lined up for purchase. So the number is extraordinary. And we're trying to get, just so you know, we're trying to get as many of these into the markets as fast as we can for the holiday season. But it is a large number, and a lot of it's focused on Nigeria at the moment. And what we've been saying in these calls, what we've been saying kind of outwardly, is that Nigeria will likely be our biggest market. You know, we look at countries like Indonesia, where you have an enormous amount of people. Nigeria is just growing so fast. It's such a youthful population. And the people there are really need this kind of technology more so than almost any other place because they're just really dying to get at the heart of all of this technology, and they have it in their hearts to do it in a way we just are so impressed with. So we think Nigeria will probably shoot to the top and stay there, if not always, but definitely for a while. But there are more population sensitive countries that could easily grow faster over time. But I'd say Nigeria is probably going to be one of the biggest ones. And of course, South Africa is on the way to get there as well. There's a big push as you guys know, we started in South Africa. That's a big push. So these numbers are massive. As we complete the distribution and we get through the process of returns and all this kind of thing, we will start reporting the numbers out. If Gator, if you take a look at BitPay Tech, this is going to be a public company in 5 years. BitPay Tech will. So you'll get regular reporting that come out of that, which would be market ready data that you'll see coming out on a regular basis. So keep asking that question. We're very excited about it. We're very excited about the growth, the future, especially in launching Nigeria, but all these countries. Each and every country is growing fast. But where you have more people and you have an easier path to distribution, getting the phones out to everybody, these markets will generally go a lot faster. And the people are clamoring, working hard to get their hands on these phones. So we're very excited to get them to them quickly. And don't forget, we have the phone, we have the tablet, right? The tablet is now starting to make its way in. So it's not just phone sales, it's tablet sales. and also the watch. And there are other components on the way. So just know that the life cycle of these are several years. They'll be refreshed, of course, and then you'll have new products coming in the market, creating a multi-SKU environment for each of these countries. And we may find, Gator, that some countries will have way more tablets than phones, or vice versa. It'll depend on how much the government is really focused on education, and we'll work with them to help build these programs, and or regular business where they have the needs for their employees or their customers. So we're very excited about that. Thank you for that question.
Congrats on the great news. I think everyone would agree. Nigeria and Indonesia are great target markets for these products. Maybe one more question, if I could.
Yeah.
Is there any roadmap for when the folks in the U.S. could get this?
Oh, that's a very, very good question. So we have, just as part of our regular roadmap, we have always stated that there will be a 5G version of the phone. And we view that technology, you guys know, right, that 5G will be eclipsed by 6G. You guys know this is happening. So there's a whole technology upgrade that, from an infrastructure perspective, that is the telcos, the MNOs, they're upgrading from 4G to 5G. Some of them will skip this cycle and go right to 6G. And we're we're welcoming all of this. We will have a 5G phone at some point later this year, and then we will go to 6G. We'll get into that development loop, from an architecture perspective and engineering perspective, because from an innovation standpoint, we want to make sure that we stay ahead of AI, we stay ahead of where the blockchain is headed, we stay ahead of security. You guys know we have the best security. And we stay ahead of the communication, the regular cell communication, and the standards and specifications around 4G, 5G, the original GSM, all of it. We just need to stay ahead of that and make sure that we are part of the 6G rollout. And that'll be probably another year and a half out from now before we have prototypes for that. So we do see the 5G phone as a US ready phone. If you've been tracking us, Gator, and I believe you have for quite a while, is that we have a contract right now with Verizon in the United States to roll out a device. So that contract, we renewed it this year, and it will be available for us when we have the 5G phone. We'll be able to import it and distribute it in Verizon's network as one of the many, right? AT&T, T-Mobile, but Verizon's a big one. They have one of the best. If you've seen some of their commercials in the United States, they have one of the best networks that exists in the United States. Some of the best call quality. Now, not everyone would agree with that statement. I realize, some people live in sections of the country where the connectivity is not so good, but then we have Starlink, right? So I think the idea is that Verizon's pretty good. Will definitely be on that network, and that'll be a 5G phone. That phone will come out later this year. That was a great question.
Awesome. Thanks, Brian. And I am a Verizon customer, so that's cool.
Good. Perfect.
All right. Thanks, Gator, for coming up. Great questions. Is there anybody else who would like to come up and maybe talk or ask any specific questions? All right. It looks like it is quieted down. So we were going to wrap up the AMA here. Chris, Brian, do you want to give any closing statements before we close?
Quickly, I'll say that I want to say thanks everyone for joining us, especially since our agenda changed a little bit. B-Chain was unable to make it, so thanks for sticking with us through this AMA. We will get another one scheduled with them so that we can dive a little deeper into their objectives and what they're trying to do in the blockchain space across Africa as well. So thanks everyone for joining, and we'll talk to you on another one of these real soon. Brian?
Yeah, I think we have, Tyler, I believe we have AMAs next week, right? I believe we have some more coming up next week.
Yes, we actually have a slew of end of the year AMAs that we're going to be doing. So we've got a handful coming up, and I was able to speak with B Chain during this AMA. They were having some connectivity issues, which is why they weren't able to attend. But they are looking forward to get rescheduled, and we can do one with them in next week or the following week, whenever we can find some time.
Okay, I know we've got a couple of hot topics we want to share with the communities going into the end of the year, and these are critical because in South Africa, right? We work with all these different countries, and each one is different. Each country has different traditions, and they treat the holidays different. And a lot of it is just how the society is built up and how it's evolved over time. And obviously, Thanksgiving is a big thing in the United States, but it's not really recognized in South Africa. Although I have been reading that in the UK, something like 40% of the people there now are celebrating Thanksgiving. That is, they're just having a nice meal on that day. So quite an interesting thing to think about that. But certainly the holidays in South Africa, about the time you get to the middle of December, things start to trail off from a business perspective. The people are out there still doing their thing, right? Buying and having the Christmas and, all the things that come up around New Year's, and all of that's still happening. But a lot of the businesses start to close down early. We just don't see that in the United States. It's not quite like that. But certainly we see that there, and we have a mindful understanding of this in each of the countries we're working in. So what this means to us is we need to get devices out to locations where they can be picked up. We need to fulfill orders, make sure that people have access to support, they have access to devices, they can get into the websites, everything's up and running. So we have a operation that supports all this. And as we look towards the end of the year, we'll fill in some time between now and then to talk about some of these key elements that are carrying, from this year into the next year. And we'll talk about some of those topics. One of the ones, Tyler, we mentioned is affiliates. That's really near and dear to our hearts because that's growing, and that'll be a huge part of the business. There should be tens of thousands of affiliates over the next couple of years. It should be a pretty massive group inside the affiliates channel because we'll be in all of Africa by then. We'll be in every country and working our way through Southeast Asia. So it's quite amazing actually how quickly this thing is taking off. And I would just echo the sentiment from Chris and from the start of the call. And as is our tradition, we really want to thank every one of you, all of you that are part of this, the affiliates, the people that will become franchise operators, the ones that are working through and setting up partnerships and selling the phones and buying the phones and getting involved in the education. There are many of you that are building education or you're involved in the education process for the Phēnix X platform. Thank you for all your work. I guarantee you what you guys are doing from an education perspective will change countless lives. You're going to help many people. And so this is something to be really proud of. And you'll see the effects of that for many years to come. So we really thank you for that. And Tyler, I look forward to the next AMA and continuing this conversation. We've got some really exciting AMAs coming up, and we really look forward to those. So thank you, Tyler, and thanks to the entire community.
Of course, and as well, thank you to everybody coming out. We really appreciate it, and this is recorded, so if anybody is unavailable, you can send it over to them, and they have a chance to listen to it at a later time. So, just want to say thank you one more time, and hope everybody has a good rest of their day.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.